And live.
Hey everybody, Richard Neese here with Weicker Realtors at Space Place. You're watching the Real Estate Rundown. I've got Dominic Gill coming around the corner. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Sabrina Whitehead, Mandy, Hayden Dye, Misty. I got my wife Catherine on here. I hope you're feeling better, honey.
Bruce Vick.
Carrie Watson, Bruce Vick, Bailey Creel, Brett Campbell. Thank you guys so much for getting on here. Please like, please share, please comment. The Real Estate Rundown is a way for us to help good people get to a better place. The way we do that is by giving you information. We want to give you information about buying. We want to give you information about selling. Today during the radio show at 10, we're talking about sports. I mean,
absolutely.
We're local sports. Go. I mean, we're just whatever we can do to help you guys. We want to do that. Sometimes it's a little bit of entertainment.
Hey, Mandy.
Sometimes it's edutainment. We want to give you a little bit of education with some entertainment too. Dominic's the entertainment side, that's for sure.
What? Oh.
He's got the jokes. Hair's getting a little bit long too. There, got it spiked up.
A little bit. That's what happens when your wife's out of town. You know, she's
That's right.
You know, she's my cook. She cleans my house for me. Don't come home, and you don't want to see how the house looks right now.
That's right.
And she also cuts my hair. I mean, she does almost so many different things. We
got a bunch of folks on here.
Absolutely.
Lots of regulars too. Miss Pauline, Brad Wilson. How are you, brother?
Ron Mosley,
Lisa Eckenrod, Jeff Wilhite,
Tommy Todd.
Man, a bunch of folks. Thank you guys so much for getting on here. Zach Thomas, please share, please comment. We leave the forum open for any questions. If you guys have questions about the real estate process, whether it's about the closing process, how to look for houses, the process in between. We have had home inspectors on here like Chris Cotton, Tommy Todd, gentlemen. Yes, sir. Kathy Gray, appreciate you getting on here. But the whole process we discussed at one point.
Who's he talking about, gentlemen?
I don't know. That's a very loose term. You know.
I'm not very gentle.
Well, we'll stay away from that. Jeremy Barnett, thanks for being here. So today, the first thing I want to address is I want to say thank you. Dominic held the fort down as far as the radio show went last week. He took care of all that because we were down in Birmingham. Catherine had a procedure done, so it got me out of pocket, and then we were actually at home by now, but I was taking care of her as good as I could, you know.
No, he didn't.
I did. She said I'm nice to her sometimes, so I'm hoping that, the first 24
It's like whenever I take care of my
nice
wife, she'd rather me just leave sometimes, you know.
Well, the second day she said, honey, you just need to go do some work, is what she told me.
Yeah.
She was laying on the couch, and I was sitting there, and I don't remember if I had the basketball game on or what it was, but you better not stop. You guys are impacting people, and that's what matters. We appreciate that.
Well, that's a little teaser. We are coming up on
right.
our 1-year anniversary, and it's one of those things we talked about. After a year, we're going to stop and we're going to evaluate what we're going to do, and so it's something along those lines. And so we're like, well, hey, why not throw it out to y'all to kind of get some input for y'all about the show and what we should do on it, different things. So should we stop or keep going with this? I mean.
You can definitely comment on there if you guys appreciate us. We appreciate.
And of course, if you're a realtor, you're automatically disqualified for giving your opinion on it.
Well, Clay, we were actually eating some of that chicken.
Hey, John,
down there. The chicken
go Tigers!
Hand, so yeah, you'll like that. That was really good. I really enjoyed it. You got the volume on there?
I don't know what's going on with this. It's crazy. I'm trying to.
Tommy Todd said, very admirable to open up to the storm victims, and that impressed the heck out of me. Hey, no problem, Tommy. We're trying to help good people get to a better place. Bama bound in 1 week. Yeah, we're going to have a good time. I'm going to show them Smith Lake. We're going to check out some of that.
Well, I was just down there this past weekend. I was down actually in Lafayette visiting family over there.
Yeah.
So
you should have stopped in. We'll have to get you the location on that place we got that chicken we just ate.
That was some good chicken. Let me tell you. Sorry, Teresa, but we stuck it on the grill and I smoked it for a little bit. Man, it was awesome.
Tommy, we've got some vacancies there, and I thought, why not give folks an opportunity if they needed to put their stuff in the storage units. It's dry, it's safe, because there are a lot of folks that are hurting from the hail damage and stuff like that. I know Catherine says, can't wait for Clay and them to come down or come up. We appreciate you guys coming. We're going to have a good time on that. But yeah, it's been a year. I mean, you've already jumped into that part.
I just hijacked the whole show.
It's actually awesome. Next Thursday we'll have been doing.
Next Thursday, yes.
And if you guys didn't know, I may have told some folks. My first Facebook Live that we did, I actually had Josh there with me, and we practiced it. The first time we practiced it with my wife going live, just to see how it sounded and stuff like that. Well, So when we went live officially, we never changed the settings. So we had talked to my wife, Catherine, for about 5 or 8 minutes, and I kept looking on like, there's one person on here watching this thing. So I mean, we might as well just quit. And then I realized the settings weren't right. We jumped into the show after that, had a great time. We've been helping folks since. I've had people tell me that the information that they got from the show helped them get a house. We've had people literally ask me to list their house or property while we're doing the show, and I've actually sold a couple houses for folks. There were some people that were identifying you, some of my buyers, when you were out showing for me. And they said, hey, you're the famous guy doing the real estate rundown, right?
So now I was like, oh, yes. Without me, Richard would not, wouldn't even be around. Totally didn't do that.
Without my parents, I wouldn't be around. But anyways, we'll go off of that. So Tommy Todd, the Easter card was very pleasant and unexpected. Hey, you're welcome, brother. Catherine, the practice runs were pretty funny. And we realized, I was doing, if you guys were following me before the real estate rundown, I was doing videos with individual folks, but it wasn't live. I think it was actually before the live feature, wasn't it? Did they have Facebook Live 2.5 years ago?
Yes. Facebook Live has been going on, gosh.
I thought that
it started as Facebook Live in 2016 is whenever we can do it. It first rolled out to iPhone users for select individuals, and then it became out to the public and Android users.
So I guess they had it, but I was just a little too skittish to jump on there. But we were actually doing videos, and we have pre-recorded videos, and I realized, we probably did.
Yes, I remember those.
That's right. So we probably did 5 to 10 cuts on some of those. And I remember the first one I did, I bet I stayed up at the office I was at for 2 hours working on about a 3.5-minute clip. We realized just jump into it, get on Facebook Live, interact with people, and so we've been doing it since. Leslie, so true. Behind every good man is a good woman and a Dominic. They got jokes.
Yes, I love it.
So, Chris, we're not going to quit. We're going to keep doing this. Feedback is much appreciated. We've been thinking about changing some of the structures and maybe even doing it live on scene in other places.
Yes.
We've been looking at some different locations to bring more people in.
And we're mobile now. So that's one of those, we've been mobile
right.
now for a month, so now we really want to kind of start taking it out and start
That's right.
really
We've been working
going.
on some big stuff, I know, with social media visual, and we're actually working on something right now with WKUL.
Yes.
That's going to be pretty huge. So we'll have to get your feedback on that. We're going to have some of the try and get some of the local politicians involved, kind of discuss what they want to do and how they can help the community and things like that. So,
and of course, we'll have to remain neutral in it all, so we're not going to actually endorse one candidate or the other. We believe people out there, y'all are intelligent enough to let them speak and make up your own minds.
That's right. So, Tommy, we definitely need a house band. That's kind of what I was thinking about.
Tommy, if you want to do it, we'll feature you on here. You can come up here, run multiple cameras. I can go and have my board through here. We can actually get this going if you want to.
So what I really see happening on this is whose line is it anyways? I think that's going to...
That'd be awesome. If
we'll have a band going over there, and we'll start doing the songs. And I just about 50 Shades of Clay.
Nice.
We may have to do that. Matt Crane jumped on here. We appreciate you, brother. Shelby Francisco, Chris.
Yeah, just hit me up, Tommy. We'll go and work something out. I mean, I can get something set up to get it going.
We're going to have this thing rocking.
Absolutely. It's all right. It's all right because of, normally next door is rocking us out. So,
That's very true.
So, maybe we'll rock them out a little bit.
Yes, hey, let's do it. I'm interested. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today, we started this in the radio show, was investment properties, some terms that people don't really know or understand. And this is actually going to be, some of the stuff is going to be state specific. So Clay, you guys are going to have some different rules and regulations on things like right of redemption, because different states have, like with us right now, it's actually 6 months for right of redemption. Used to be 12 months. In other areas, it may be different on that. You want to explain what right of redemption is?
No.
No,
I got it. Right of redemption is a time frame in which, from the day you get foreclosed on, in which if you can get your finances back in order, whatever it is, and actually purchase back your house from either the bank or whoever bought it. I mean, the government's giving you a time frame in which you can reclaim that property. It costs money, of course, and most people typically do not typically when they lose their house, they go bankrupt and normally can't afford to buy their
Sure.
house back again. There are a few cases where it does happen, but
So this is important on both sides with right of redemption. Of course, we're talking about foreclosures. Nobody likes talking about it, but some things do happen, whether it's divorce situations, whether it's people falling on hard times, losing jobs, whatever the case might be. With a foreclosure, though, you have that right of redemption that protects the actual owners of the property. It gives you time so that you can come back and reclaim it, is basically what it is with the redemption part. So if you do that in that time frame, there are several fees associated with that. You have to pay court costs, you have to pay interest on the money, you have to pay several things. But if you are able to do that, obviously you can get your house back. Because I've seen people actually lose their house with like 85 to 90% equity.
oh my goodness.
I mean, it just breaks my heart. I'm thinking, man, you got to find a way because you've been paying on it for 25 years and then just let it go. But you never know what somebody's situation is going to be in. So the important part of that on this, obviously the owner side, is that on the buyer's side or investor's side, it's important to know right of redemption, because if you buy a foreclosure, you put tons and tons of work into it, and then you decide you're going to sell it, the owner can come back and buy
regardless
that property.
regardless if you sell it or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the owner can actually come back and buy that property, and you lose what you have in it, with the exception of the necessities. If something was necessary, plumbing, electrical, roof, things like that, then you can actually get money from the court system from that. But if you're putting granite countertops, if you're doing new custom cabinets, if you're doing things like that, you may lose all of that money that you spent on it, and they'll just give you that basic amount. And that's, most people don't realize that. And then on the sale side, if you decide to sell it before that time frame, then what happens? You gotta make sure you're paying attention.
Okay, well, what happens is that then it passes the buck on to the buyers, the new buyers of it. They're the ones who's going to be at risk at that time frame. Is that right? Is that what you're trying to get me to say? No, you weren't paying attention.
I wasn't paying attention. I was actually reading Tommy's question. But you could have said anything, and I would have not known what you said. So clarify that again.
I said, you asked me what
Yes,
happens when you
that's
sell
right.
it.
Okay.
And I said it passes on to the new buyers. That risk,
Right.
the risk
And
passes on to
risk
the new buyers.
is, and there's something that can actually be done. Most banks, now if you pay cash, it's a different story. Most banks are going to require what's called a redemption bond, and that's an insurance policy at 1% of the total cost. And most of the time they use a tax assessment cost on that. But 1% of it, and that protects the bank for the difference. So if, let's say, we bought a house for $90,000, we put $10,000 into it. So
We're telling the story, or we're using this as an example?
This is just an example.
That
This is an
sounds
example.
close to a true story.
So we put $10,000 into it as an investor,
Right.
and we fix it up, and then we try and sell it for $130,000. Well, there's obviously a gap, kind of like with gap coverage, and I'm going to get to your question in a minute, Tommy. There's a gap there that if they bought it back if the folks bought it back with the right of redemption, then there's still going to be a gap of $20,000 at least that has to be paid by the sellers, or by the buyers, excuse me. It gets kind of confusing. Buyers, sellers, two sides. So that coverage isn't protecting the buyers, it's just protecting the bank, and that's it. So that's what that bond is for, to protect against that. I know that from a car standpoint, Chapter 7, you can reaffirm the loan. Can you do that with a home?
Yes, you can.
So I guess reaffirm.
Basically, and I've known people who've done that before. Actually, they kept their rental property, but they lost their own personal residence in a bankruptcy. It was a weirder situation. They were okay letting their personal home go, but then they decided to go ahead and keep it. And when you file that way, you basically pick and choose which loans you want to keep at that point.
I got you.
I think there's some rules on that, but I know in that situation it did happen that way, to where it was. I thought it was strange though. They foreclosed on their home, but they just wanted to keep their rental property.
Yeah, that is interesting. So we got Lance Lay, John DeSico, Heather Hankey, Joseph Pace, Valerie Privet. Thank you guys so much for getting on here.
Mandy, it's nothing like a reverse mortgage.
We'll get into that in just a minute. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, please share, please comment. We appreciate all the comments coming in. Tommy, Todd, and Mandy. The reverse mortgage side, basically that's usually when you have your home paid off. Typically it happens with elderly folks, and when they need living money for expenses, they'll get a reverse mortgage so they can be paid out and get their equity back. So they're taking a mortgage on their house again, essentially.
And usually what a reverse mortgage is that they don't have to pay any money
That's right.
at all towards anything, and they're just taking that equity, and then they basically live out the rest of their life with that mortgage on there, and it accrues interest.
And then that's passed on to whoever gets the property after that. So that's
Yes.
important. And one of those things, you see a lot of foreclosures happen with reverse mortgages because if you stop taking care of the property, they can actually call that loan to note. And they can actually say, hey, you've got to pay this right now because that's their investment. That's what they're putting money into. So they can call that up and foreclose on it.
And you can quickly go upside down on your
very
mortgage.
quickly.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, for the investors out there, if you've ever experienced a reverse mortgage company, they don't play at all. I mean, they're not even going to play ball with you. They're going to foreclose on it, and they're going to try and sell it after that. It doesn't matter what condition it's in.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to, and the companies I've dealt with, they're going to be pretty hard because they've given this money back out. This isn't This isn't your local bank that's taking care of you and trying to protect you. This is somebody that's coming after you hard. I strongly recommend people not do reverse mortgages unless they understand everything about the process because you can get foreclosed on very quickly. John Gill, Cindy Rhodes, Craig Green.
Yeah, no problem, Andy. No problem. We're not the expert on loans and stuff, but I do know someone who has a reverse mortgage, and I'm just basically knowing from him how that situation was.
Put you in a bad spot pretty quick.
Oh yeah. Well, he had a lot of equity in his house too, so hopefully his goal is to die before his life insurance policy to cover.
Interesting. So with reverse mortgages, you got to be really careful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've seen this happen before with well-intentioned family members actually helping one of their siblings or helping a son or daughter start a business, and that's the worst decision I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
They lost their house as they were living in it because their son's business failed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of times people don't realize, we're not going to get into legal advice. But that's why people separate those out into LLCs and corporations and things like that, because you've got to protect your personal assets, because if you don't, you're going to put yourself in a bad spot, start leveraging your home, and not only will you not have a business anymore, but you won't have a house. So you just please be careful out there. We were talking about the bankruptcy, though. When that bankruptcy actually happens, it can delay the foreclosure process almost indefinitely, because there has to be so many hoops that are jumped through, especially here in Alabama, that you may see it on the auction block where they actually do it on the courthouse steps, and then it be completely done away with for a year because of bankruptcy. And most people don't know that, but that's a good way. If you're in a bad spot, you can protect your own home there by filing for bankruptcy. Please talk to your attorney. Make sure you understand all the legal implications on that. All right, so I just talked a whole bunch.
You did good. You did good, man.
We got David Wazalewski on here.
Why
Nick Williams.
stop?
Yeah. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Please share, please like, please comment. We're not going to claim to be the expert on everything, but we do like to bring in
I'm the expert on
experts.
Dominic.
I don't even know about that. I think Teresa might know more than you.
Yeah, she may know that. She generally can just tell me what I'm going to do before I do it and stuff. And the house is clean. Yes, the house is clean.
Yeah, I don't.
For those of you who don't know,
Thank you for jumping on here, brother. We're actually talking about some stuff that's right up your alley with the flips and foreclosures and things like that. You sound that's very sweet.
Yeah,
she just wants me to get Buena Vista on the way home, is the truth on that. So she's trying to be nice to me.
Yeah.
Get a little Mexican food. Juan Sanchez jumped on here. Like I said, Tyler, we're talking about foreclosures in that last segment. I also want to talk a little bit about investment properties and some terms that a lot of people may not understand. And I'll throw out an easy one. When you're looking for investment properties, especially rentals, one of the most important things you have to think about is cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to tell folks what cash flow is in general terms?
In general terms, it's the money. It's the net proceeds after you pay all your mortgages and all the debts by the month, and the leftover money. That's the money that's cash flowed.
That's exactly right. She knows the house is not clean. That's what she just said. I just want you to know that. I know you can't see everything that's going on here. You got yours over there, but I know the house is not clean too. So cash flow is very important. With cash flow, you want to make sure that you're making money on top of the debt service. If you have the ability to pay for something in cash, then there's some other ways that you can evaluate properties. But cash flow is probably the biggest one because it's the way that you have somebody else pay your mortgage on the note. You pay your mortgage on the house or apartment complex or whatever the case might be. and then you make that money afterwards for your time and effort. And what a lot of people try and do or don't realize, if you're a smart investor, you realize that your time is money.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have somebody doing repairs and you have somebody doing all the other stuff, your cash flow may not be as good, but cash flow without having to do anything is what I call mailbox money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you made the decision, you purchased it, you're carrying the risk. It's important to make money when you buy, you find great deals, add value, and then cash flow it out that way. If you have cash, what kind of evaluation should we be using?
In what way? And like to invest in a property you're talking about?
So what method will we use to determine the value of a property if we have cash and we don't have to debt service? We didn't rehearse this, so he's not ready.
I'm following.
So a
haven't even followed
capitalization
it.
rate, a cap rate, is what you use if you're using cash. It's also a way you can evaluate investment properties as a whole. A cap rate is basically how long that it takes for you to pay for itself. A property has to pay for itself. So if you have a property that pays for itself in 10 years after expenses come out, at that point the cap rate is 10%. So a 10% cap rate is a great cap rate for an investment property.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys know anything about investment properties, whether it's apartments or whatever the case might be, 10% is probably going to be somewhere around a C property if you're looking for that. And that cash flows pretty well. A safe investment is usually going to be somewhere between 5 and 7% cap rate. And that just is the amount of time it takes you to get your money back after you have the gross amount minus expenses, and that's your net operating income.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So do I sound smart now?
A little bit, maybe.
Maybe. All right. So we've got a cap rate, we've got cash flow, and what everybody asks is, what's a good deal? And those two factors, those two variables, are the best way to evaluate what is a good deal. You know, you have cash flow, you have cap rate, and then at the end of the day, you got to look at your long-term goals. If you're looking for something, a quick flip, there's lots and lots of factors you got to throw in there. Capital gains taxes, you've got to throw in with foreclosures, foreclosure bonds, rights of redemptions, things like that. And with the
interest,
depending on what type of loan you get, if you get a loan, that's important. But if you're looking at a long-term investment with rentals, there's lots of other things that you can use actually to your advantage with depreciation coming off of the house, apartments, whatever you guys use. David Warren jumped on here. Thank you, brother, for getting on. I've been checking out some of your pictures. They've been looking good, especially that loft apartment. Did you see that one?
I have not.
Oh, that was nice. I'll send that over to you.
Okay.
Catherine said there's no way we could live there, though. It's a one-bedroom. It ain't going to work. Ain't going to fly for you either, right?
Unfortunately. Living in a little camper, that was the best time ever. That was just great. Just small space. I don't like the big space. But of course, whenever you got, 5 kids, you kind of can't have a small space.
I got you. We appreciate you guys tuning in. I actually had a really, really good conversation, and Dominic's heading off, but I was going to finish with something else.
Okay, I said I appreciate you guys. I thought that was my cue.
I was almost there. Brian Smith, thanks for jumping in. I was actually talking to USDA Direct. If anybody on here, hopefully everybody has insurance, but if you don't have insurance on your property, you had damage to your house, please talk to the folks at USDA Direct. They actually have a loan program. It's 1% interest for certain folks that qualify if you have damage to your house and didn't have insurance on it. So 1% is incredible. It's a way for them to help folks. I've got information about the program, and I can also direct you to the right people on that. And I didn't tell you about that yet, did I?
No, you did not.
So there's lots of good programs up there. We're going to have USDA Direct on in the next couple of weeks to talk a little bit about some of the programs for lower income folks. So
thanks for letting me know. No joke. Go ahead.
So we're going to go ahead and finish. Go ahead and go right there. We're almost there.
All right.
We really appreciate you guys tuning in. The Real Estate Rundown is a way for us to help good people get to a better place. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you don't want to put it on live, you can inbox us. If you have somebody in particular you want to come on, an appraiser's came on. They told us they can. Home inspectors, lenders, whatever you want us to talk about, to dig into, that's what we're here for. I'm not selling you houses here. I'm trying to give you information that's going to help you better.
But if you want to buy a house, you can.
But if you want to buy a house, give me a call at 256-708-1511. But really, we want to give the information out there so you guys can become informed buyers and sellers. We want to help good people get to a better place. I hope you guys have a great night.